Hello everybody, I am the Spearman, the embracer of human good and analyst of fiction. And in this video we're going to talk about the other movie I saw recently on the same day as the Dumbo remake, which is Shazam. In the past week or so alone, this movie has made incredible success. It's gotten incredible reviews and is making tons of money. I think it was like #1 at the box office this weekend, and who knows, it may get the same amount of financial success that Wonder Woman, Batman vs Superman, and Justice League got, but we'll see. I went and watched it like less than an hour after I finished seeing Dumbo, and I really liked it. But it wasn't quite as good as Man of Steel. I mean, hear me out. I know there are a lot of people who hate Man of Steel, and I'll gladly do a vlog of that another time, but I really like it. I thought it was a pretty solid, unique origin story for Superman. Sure, it changes a lot of things here and there, but it holds up pretty well. And what they do here with Shazam, aka the original Captain Marvel, long before the Captain Marvel of the Marvel Universe, was pretty impressive for the most part. I mean, the problems in this movie are very apparent. I mean, there are some big elephants in the room you simply cannot ignore. But, you know, we'll cover them when we get to them. So, let's get this thing started. So, the movie begins in 1974, the glorious 70s. It was the exploitation age of filmmaking and Nixon years and all that good stuff. Okay, so in 1974, we see a family driving, a father, a teenage son, and a preteen son. And the preteen son is all whiny and stuff about his magic ball. And then all of a sudden, everything starts shaking around him. The symbols of the Shazam Council, the Magic Council, whatever, I forget what they're called, show up on the magic ball, and then the boy's taken to the wizard, the ancient wizard Shazam, who, to my understanding, is like hundreds or even thousands of years old. And we learn the boy's name is Thaddeus Savannah, whom, if you notice from the trailers or from other promotional materials, you'll notice right away that this is the villain. So something's going to happen here that's going to set him on the path of evil, and it's done really well. I mean, just like with other villains in other movies, the villain here is perhaps the best part of this movie. I mean, it's not like it's the most unique thing ever. Going into the villain's perspective from the beginning during the opening minutes of the movie, the respective movie and whatever, but it's still pretty well done. So the Shazam wizard talks to the boy, saying, "Thaddeus Savannah, you could be my new champion if you are pure of heart, and if you can resist temptation." And the boy, Savannah, Thaddeus, whatever, he's all confused and stuff, like, what's going on? Who are you? Why do you want to give me magic? And then suddenly he sees this ball nearby, this bright glowing ball that's tempting him to take it. He gets closer and closer until Shazam, I'm going to call him Old Shazam, he knocks his hand away and declares, "No, I was wrong. You are not pure of heart. You don't deserve this power. Only those pure of heart can resist the orb's power. Now get out of here." So he summons the boy back to his family, who almost die in a car crash twice. The first time is like a fake out, and the father is being a real prick to his boy, saying, "Shut up, you whiny little shit! You could have gotten us killed, you know that?" Well, psh, they get hit by a truck, I think, of all things. Or another car, I don't know. And now the father and son are even more hostile, more aggressive towards Thaddeus than ever. But before the scene ends, Thaddeus notices the magic ball having one two-worded message: "Find us." and we see a brief glimpse back into the lair of old Shazam, where the demon statues are mocking him, saying, "You cannot live forever, old man. Soon we will be free and no one will stop us." And old Shazam is like, "No, I will find a champion, no matter how long it takes." The title comes in, and then we cut to our main character, Billy Batson, who is faking. He's faking a pawn shop robbery, I think it was, to get the cops away from their cop car, so he can look up some stuff inside the car and track down his mother, or who he thinks is his mother. He finds the household, goes up, asks, "Is this something Batson? I think I'm your son." And then we see this black woman step out saying, "Are you sure about that? Sorry to bother you." And as he walks away, he gets caught by the police and so forth. And just before we saw him have this unfortunate encounter, we see a flashback where the last time Billy saw his mother was at a carnival of all things over 10 years ago. They bought a toy after winning a game, and then Billy lost his mother in the large carnival crowd after getting his toy back. He met a nice police officer who said, "Don't worry, kid, I'm sure they'll come looking for you. They always come looking for their special kids." But she never did, apparently, or she never found him. But we'll get to that later. So in the present day, after we have the encounter with a different Batson and the police and all, Billy is scolded down by a foster supervisor woman. I'm sorry, I don't really know the name of that sort of person in charge, who reminds him, "You have run away from 6 foster homes, from 6 foster families, good families who wanted to take care of you, who gave you a chance, and you rejected them," and so forth. And Billy's just all resistant, saying, "She's out there. I know she's out there." And the woman reminds him, you have been spending so long tracking down over 70 people, none of whom are the woman who never came looking for you." And it's pretty harsh. Right away you have a very solid backstory build up for this main character, for this central character. And soon enough, Billy gets adopted by a new foster family. I forget what their names were. The family's name was like Farrier or something. I'm just going to call him Farrier for now. He quickly bonds with the crippled kid named Freddie, who is a bit of a jackass, but is still well-meaning, or at least that's how it seems. And they start going to school together, which is like both I don't know if it's a high school or if it's a grade school. It's probably a grade school, considering... No, I mean, like, the kid... One of the foster kids was like 18 or something, named Mary, who was waiting to be accepted into a college she really wanted to go to. But Billy has mixed results for his first day or so of school, and he has to stand up for Freddie when he's picked on by a couple of little assholes, tall assholes, whatever. And these bully pricks chase Billy down to the subway station, where Billy it goes through the same experience that Thaddeus Savannah had decades earlier. Speaking of which, before Billy has his turn, we see that Savannah and a private group of researchers have been researching into essentially the Shazam phenomena, where literally at least a few dozen people over the decades have had different experiences with the old wizard Shazam, who all tested them to see if they were pure of heart, who could be their champion, but they were supposedly all tempted by the orb of sin or something like that, and could not possess the power. And one of them apparently who was like an older Asian British woman, I think. She apparently just had an encounter like this recently, and I was really confused because like I thought he was only testing children who were pure of heart, to see if children were pure of not heart. Why is he going for adults too? That's never explained, but whatever. Sivana is very obsessed with tracking down the old Shazam that he encountered decades earlier, and we quickly see how decades of being undermined by literally everyone, especially his own father and brother, has turned this guy very hateful towards the world over the decades. He, at one point, he suddenly realizes there's a way to make a door to old Shazam's lair. He enters it. Old Shazam is shocked. Who the hell are you? What the hell are you doing here? You don't remember me. You came to me decades ago. Yes. You were a boy. And you were right. I'm not pure of heart. He looks towards the orb of sin, and he immediately goes to it and grabs it. Old Shazam tries to stop him, but he's too weak to do anything, much of anything. And by possessing the sin orb, Sivana suddenly absorbs the demons of hell, the high demons of hell themselves, lust, mammon, greed, envy, and so forth. And now they're all inside him, and they empower him with demonic magic and so forth. And now, apparently, old Shazam has chosen Billy Batson of all people to be his champion. He is his last hope, and all that stuff. And Billy enters Shazam's lair, and of course, because the Sin Orb is not there, he doesn't go through the same temptation test that all the other kids did in the past. And he's exceedingly reluctant because, he's just totally freaked out and wants to just get out of there, wants to just leave. But, the old Shazam is heavily insistent and says you must take this power because in the past we were reckless with who we chose as our champion long, long ago. It's clearly implied is supposed to be Black Adam, who is Shazam's ultimate nemesis, to my understanding. Black Adam caused a lot of chaos and stuff hundreds, thousands of years ago, and the cycle of that darkness, whatever, has continued to this day. I think Billy's fascinated by this, but still very scared and wants nothing to do with it. But Shazam gets very assertive with him, saying, "My brothers and sisters died for this. You cannot deny them what they died for. Okay, what do I do? Grab the staff and say my name so my powers may flow through you. Shazam." Are you for real? Say it! Okay. Shazam? Say it like you mean it. Shazam? And so enters Zachary Levi about a half hour into the movie, and instantly is freaking the fuck out. But Shazam, old Shazam, doesn't tell him much of anything because he literally dies seconds later, finally at peace, while Billy, or now Shazam, is freaking the fuck out. He's suddenly back at the subway station he started out in. And of course, the first thing he does is to go back to the foster home and try to find Freddy. And he quickly convinces Freddy that he is Billy Batson because he stole a bullet that Superman himself got shot with a while back. I don't know how the hell Freddy got it or why Billy would even bother stealing it to begin with, but Billy and Freddy quickly realize that he's a superhero now, and Freddy's the only superhero expert who can help Billy understand this whole superhero thing. So immediately they start testing out Billy's superpowers, testing out lightning stuff and lightning powers, like electrokinesis, I think, and saving a woman from a mugger who apparently was who was very well handled, could have handled the mugger herself, which was ironic, because usually that'd be the damsel in distress that the hero saves and all that. But like the woman freaks out and gives Billy and Freddie $73 so that they can leave her alone. And then they stop a robbery at a gas station, just like what you saw in the trailers, and they realize that he has super strength, hyper speed, and invulnerability, the same kind of invulnerability that Superman has, I think, where practically nothing on Earth can hurt him, whether it's his suit or his body. And then, let's see what happens next. They buy out some beer because Shazam looks and essentially is old enough to get it, and they instantly regret it. As soon as they drink the beer, they spit it out going, ugh, it tastes like shit. And so they just get a bunch of junk food that kids are into, and then they sneak back into the foster home, even though Billy has been reported missing, has been missing for hours, and he doesn't know how to revert back to normal. Darla, who is the little black girl, really sweet little black girl, she spots Shazam, and Shazam and Freddy hush her up, and he tries to explain briefly what happened, and says Shazam at one moment, which instantly turns him back into Billy and supposedly blows a hole through the roof that nobody noticed, I guess. And Darla decides that she'll be a good sister and she won't tell anybody. And so Shazam and Freddy begin learning what Shazam's powers are and testing them. But meanwhile, Savannah goes to the office building, the very office building of his family's company, which he has nothing to do with because of how shitty they've treated him over the long decades, And at first, the father is very resistant, very, very angry to even have him around. But Savannah, takes his stand and says, "Do you remember what I said that night, all those years ago, that I was destined for great things or something or other? Well, I was right," and so forth. And the brother stands up to him, but he just mocks him, and like seconds later, Savannah just throws his brother out of the room. Not just out of the room, but out of the window. He kills his own brother right there and then. And then, releasing the high demons from his body, he kills almost everybody in the room except his father. And his father is now freaking the fuck out. And Savannah says something like, You really think that just because you have so much money and so much property that you have power? No. This is power. You're just looking at it. And the father, with his last words says, Please, I'll do whatever you want, son. I'll give you all the money you want. I'll give you the company. Yes. That's greed for you, isn't it, Dad? And he says something else, and then he literally turns to the high demon Greed and says, Greed, you can have him. No! And Greed kills the father. And that's how fucking despicable this guy's become, but I love it, every second of it. And he sees this message, this company message in the elevator as he's going down saying, Families are important to us. We are all about families. Fuck families! He just destroys the machine with the message and all. But at the same time, the high demons warn him, The old man has chosen his champion. Find him, kill him, destroy him before he realizes his full potential. Then show me where to find him. Oh yeah, they'll show him, sure enough. But anyway, back to Shazam himself. At this point, we're at 45 minutes or so into the movie. This movie's only an hour 45, I think, excluding the end credits. So they find out that Not much else other than what they already know. The main thing they try to test out so much is whether Shazam can fly or not, and to give him a name. That's the weird thing about this movie. They never once refer to the superhero as Shazam, but they repeatedly use the word Shazam to transform back and forth between Billy and the hero in question. While we're on that note, what is it with these movies and not having the title hero be referred to as the title hero? I mean, even Man of Steel, whatever you would like to say about it, did refer to Superman as such a couple times. They didn't refer to Wonder Woman as Wonder Woman at all in her own movie, let alone the Justice League. And there are some other examples too. I feel like the new Captain Marvel movie was somewhere along those lines, where they kind of alluded to her being called Captain Marvel by Nick Fury, but never fully taken on that name in particular. I don't know what it is with these movies not doing that, and they never once officially give Shazam his title name unless they're worried about him changing back to Billy at the wrong time. And then, as they're testing Shazam's powers, Freddy makes all these videos, some of which I think he was in, or at least he talked in, and they become viral hits on YouTube, of course, and nobody can figure out that the kid in taking these videos is clearly the crippled kid from that school, or whatever. I mean, like, if you ask me, it's not Spider-Boy levels of stupid, but it's still pretty out there with how nobody can figure out how the Red Lightning Man, Captain Sparkle Fingers as some call him, and the crippled kid are connected. And then Freddy becomes very cocky, claiming that he knows that he's best friends with the Red Lightning Man, with the Red Cyclone as the bullies call him. And he's going to show up at lunch and do this shit. That's like Ned Leeds' level of stupid from Spider-Man Homecoming, though not quite as bad, I would say. Anyway, so at some point or another, Shazam starts testing his powers out on his own without Freddy around and earning money from people and so forth. And then Freddy eventually comes along saying, "Yeah, thanks for coming to the cafeteria today. Thanks for coming to lunch." And Shazam is all apologetic and stuff at first, even though he made it clear from the beginning he's not going to help Freddy out for the hell of it, just because Freddy wants to be popular so bad and whatever. You know, Freddy was being all like, "You said you were going to be there." "No, you said you were going to be there. That I was going to be there. I never agreed to this." Which couldn't be more from the truth. And then right then and there, Shazam accidentally sets a bus crashing onto the edge of a highway bridge, and he has to go and save it. He barely does. He barely saves all the people on this bus, and he's not so gentle with it when he holds it above his head for a moment and then just crashes it down like that. I mean, Jesus, kid, to think about it, all the bones you're breaking from that crash alone. And then Freddy does the stupidest thing in the entire movie, where he goes up to talk to Shazam in front of all these news cameras and people's cell phone cameras and so forth, fucking patronizing him for being a show-off and all this shit, even though that's clearly what Freddy was trying to do with him to begin with. And Shazam, Billy, makes a fresh point saying, "You just wish it was you, Freddy." And Freddy actually admits right then and there, "Yeah, no shit I do! I'm invisible, okay? Nobody ever pays attention to me, ever, no matter what I do. I would kill to have what you have. Look at you. You don't even want to look at me right now." Yeah, this is going to make stuff a whole lot better. So Freddy walks away, and then Savannah comes on the scene to confront Billy, and Billy eventually realizes, "Oh, you're like a bad guy, you're like a supervillain. Look, before this gets really ugly, I gotta warn you, there's no way you stand a chance against me. Sivana throws one punch at his face, and it hurts him. And then he throws a couple more punches at him. Then I think Shazam tries to throw a punch back, but Sivana easily dodges it, and then with one more punch just sends Shazam flying in the air. They have a brief struggle where Sivana pretty much just takes Shazam higher and higher, and then eventually drops him. And at the brink of death, Shazam finally is able to fly. And, it was cool. I will admit it was cool, but it could have been a lot better. If there was much better, I don't know, I've said this before in regards to other movies. If there's more character depth and build up to it, the whole I can fly scene would have been a lot more triumphant, a lot more satisfying. But Shazam then tries harder to fight Sivana, but barely manages to budge Sivana because Sivana, he's been driven solely by strong ambition for decades, and he's basically a natural elite with his evil demonic powers. Eventually, Billy gets desperate enough to transform back into his kid form without anybody noticing, even Sivana, and slips into a crowd of bystanders. And then Sivana notices Freddy on the TV talking to Shazam, and notices right away Freddy's looking for him. And of course, Sivana corners Freddy, who yells out, "Supervillain! Supervillain! Supervillain!" And then, of course, as you can guess, he's forced to tell Sivana who Billy is and where his fucking foster family lives. And then, let's see what happens next. Billy, he returns to his foster home, and the other foster kids eventually realize that, holy shit, the Red Cyclone guy, that is Billy. Especially Mary, because at one point, Shazam came across Mary, saving her from an oncoming truck, because she was so distracted by being accepted into her college, and explaining that she doesn't want to anymore because she'll be away from her family. And Shazam, being his Billy self, says, "Look, families just hold you back. You need to be what matters most is yourself, your own dreams and goals and all that." And she takes that advice with mixed results. Anyway, back to the present course of the film's events. The kids confront Billy, saying, "You're that guy. You're the Red Cyclone guy, whatever." "Yeah, well, I'm not really a hero anymore. I almost got a lot of people hurt," and yada yada. And then the young Asian kid, I forget his name, he was really obsessed with games and technology and stuff. He explains to Billy, "Look, Billy, I looked into your thing about your mom. Your real mother's name was Felicity something or other, and she reverted to her maiden name years ago." And Mary explains, "Yeah, you never found her because she reverted to her maiden name. She did this and that, and, well, your father's been in prison for years, and she's living on her own. I also found this address." And Billy, almost without a moment's hesitation, leaves the foster home behind and goes to this apartment building where his real mother is living, which is literally less than a mile away, I think. And he sees his mother for the first time in years, revealing who he is, and she realizes almost immediately, "Oh my God, it's you, Billy." And her boyfriend, her asshole boyfriend, is back in the apartment crying out to her, "What's going on out there?" "Oh, nothing, just a kid. I'm just going to talk to him, to throw him out, whatever." But of course she's talking to him longer. Like, after a little bit of dialogue here and there where she says, "No, that's not your father, that's just a guy I'm living with now, yada yada. That day I lost you. You have to understand, I was only 17 when I had you. My daddy kicked me out, and my husband wasn't the person I thought he was, and became even worse than I thought he was going to be. And that day at the carnival when I lost you, and I saw you with the police, I realized right there and then that they would do a much better job of taking care of you. And, well, you've come so far now, right? Yada yada. As much as I sympathize with her, there's no doubt she was a really shitty parent. I mean, the borderline shittiest thing, the absolute worst shittiest thing she could have done, which she did, was to leave her kid behind when she saw that he was waiting for her, that he and a nice police officer was waiting for her, and she just fucking chickened out. She just fucking pussied out and just turned the cold shoulder completely. She just gave up not only on herself but on her own child, and that's really fucking messed up. And I think Billy himself realizes that. He doesn't say much of anything, but you can see in his face, like, how could you do this to me? How the fuck could you do this to me? You were there. You saw me waiting for you. You knew I was looking for you. Yada yada, but, you know, he gives the same toy back to her that they had years ago. And she's like, but don't you still need it? No, you need it more than I do. I already found a way home. I need to go back to my true family. And so he walks away, supposedly never to see or talk to his real mother again. But just as he's leaving the apartment building, he gets a call from Freddy, and he hears the evil voice of Savannah. Come home, Billy. Come home. Billy! Supervillain! And Billy freaks out because he knows this is the same bad guy he was just fighting a mere couple hours ago at the most. And yeah, we do see when the kids realize, after Billy leaves to go find his mom, Savannah and Freddy show up. You know, Freddy doesn't apologize at all, even though he pretty much put himself in the position to reveal where they all were. But, you know, regardless, Billy has to do what he has to do, and there is this really cool moment where he goes to the top of the roof, and he jumps to the edge, jumps off, and yells, Shazam! And he transforms into Shazam and immediately flies back towards the foster home, where everybody's waiting for him. Savannah's mocking, saying, nice little place. Ah, hell with it. It's a shithole. And then Shazam appears outside and demands that Savannah lets them go and he'll come inside. But Savannah does some reverse psychology, saying, no, you come inside and I'll let them go, and I may let them go when I want. So Shazam comes inside briefly, and then Savannah opens the same sort of gate he used before to go to old Shazam's lair. And, and speaking of lairs, like, Freddy was really insistent on this earlier, that Freddy and Shazam, like, this was like at the midpoint of the movie, I think. Freddy and Shazam literally went to a fucking banking, insurance, thing, whoever, and said, we want a lair. We want to buy a lair. Like, I know they're fucking kids, but who the fuck thinks this actually works out? Like that. Like, the woman, of course, is very confused, and says the obvious stuff like, unless you actually have a money account, unless you actually have millions of dollars, let alone a money account, I can't do jack shit for you. So, yeah. Anyway, so Savannah takes Shazam back to old Shazam's lair, where Shazam had accidentally left the staff behind. He wasn't supposed to. It was clearly implied he had to take it with him to do more with it than he did when he first got his powers. Shazam meets the demons, the high demons, and I think he realizes right there and then, wait a second, those demons are empowering him, and he gets weaker the more of the demons, after more and more demons leave him. but before Savannah can force Shazam to transfer his powers to Savannah through the staff, through the great staff or whatever, the kids suddenly appear, throwing a replica batarang at Savannah's head, saying, "His name is Captain Sparklefingers." They still don't say Shazam. That was like the perfect opportunity for them to say Shazam, and they didn't fucking do it. Like, I think the kids throw one or two other things at Savannah, and he's knocked over. The demons try to attack the kids, but Shazam holds them off, and then takes the kids out of the lair, and they try to escape. But you know, the door they went through, the same door that Savannah left open, is not there anymore. The Asian kid is all like, the door was just here. It was just here a second ago. It's all right, guys. It's all right. We'll find another way. They find this room with all these doors, which of course lead into all these bizarrely phenomenal alternate worlds that none of them lead back home. And Freddy tells Billy, how did you leave this place the first time? I don't know. I just thought of the subway, and then suddenly I was there. Okay, then think of the subway. Think of any place other than here. And, you know, Shazam grabs all the kids together and teleports them away just in the nick of time before Savannah, just as Savannah and the demons attack, and all the kids are teleported to a strip club that Shazam and Freddy had stopped by much earlier, and so let's see here. Darla's eyes are covered because she's only like 5 or 6, maybe 7 at the oldest. Her eyes are covered by Marie, and then they have to flee to this carnival where a lot of people are. And Savannah comes with his demon saying, "Ha ha 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 ha." And Shazam transforms back into Billy, hiding again, but Savannah mocks him from above. Well, everyone sees Savannah and thinks he's another fucking superhero, like, "Ooh, another superhero, woohoo!" But Savannah makes his villain speech of, "Once you're hiding among innocents once again. You really are just a boy, a cowardly boy at heart, and now these people will pay the price." He starts attacking the people, and then the people all scurry batshit crazy, including a really funny Santa Claus, of all people. Fake Santa. When Shazam fights Savannah again, finally, and this time he's standing his ground. He's got more mastery of his powers, and you know he lands fairly more blows to Savannah and the demons, but still doesn't fare much a better chance. Even so, Freddy realizes a power matrix. That guy's a power matrix. The more demons that leave him, the less power he has. We gotta tell Billy. And eventually the fight leads to this giant tent where all the demons in Savannah await Shazam, holding the kids hostage. Shazam pretends to surrender, but through some quick movements, he blasts Savannah away and forces the demons away. And just before he does this, he also realizes what old Shazam was trying to hint to him earlier. Something about, once you've mastered your powers, or at least begun to master your powers, you must pass on the same powers to others that you trust, a family, yada yada. So as soon as he blasts Savannah and the demons away, he turns around the staff, says, "Everyone gather around. All together, gang. Now say my name." Billy! Probably one of the best jokes in the movie. Billy! No, not my name. The word I say to turn into this guy. And everyone says, "Shazam!" And then, yes, as some of you probably guessed, the entire fucking Marvel family, or in this case, the Shazam family, show up. Shazam Jr. being, I think, Freddy, Mary Shazam, and Darla Shazam, and Victor Shazam. Victor was the big white Mexican dude. And then the Asian... God damn it, what was his name? I'm sorry, I can't remember the fucking Asian kid's name, and I feel kind of bad for that. But, and funny enough, he's played by the Asian dude who played as the jock guy, one of the jocks from 13 Reasons Why. That guy, of all things. Of all the celebrities, yes. All these adult Shazam superheroes are played by adult celebrities, respectively, similar to Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and so forth. So, like they only have a moment to enjoy it. Like, Savannah comes back, truly shocked, going, "No, impossible!" And Shazam does what he needs to do, saying, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not share the staff with you? Too bad!" He breaks the staff in fucking two and throws it aside. Now we're a family. A family that kicks ass or something. And then Savannah and the demons divide it and conquer, while all the kids now full-grown adults have to fight the demons off. Like, Shazam faces off against Savannah, of course, while all the demons try to attack the kids separately. And Darla says something cute like, "I don't agree to violence, but I think we need to kick this guy's butt, like, really hard." And so, like, they have to fight the demons, quickly grasp their powers, even faster than Billy ever had, and have to save innocent people, and Freddy in his Shazam Jr. form is like, "Okay, dude, you're like the first villain I've ever fought. This is the coolest moment of my life. Whoop, whoop. Right then. Whoop, whoosh, whoop, whoosh, whoop, whoosh." Honestly, though, when I first saw and realized that the entire Shazam family was present, I was like, okay, that's awesome. Because despite what little I knew about fucking Shazam or Captain Marvel of the DC Universe, whatever, I did know about the Shazam family, and I was curious to see how that was going to play out. But I did not think that was going to come like that in the first movie of all things. Shazam and Savannah are now like hundreds of feet away and prepare to face down for a final showdown. And Savannah makes his villain speech saying, "No more games, boy. This all ends here with your..." You can't hear him, which is satirizing pretty much every showdown, supervillain showdown in history, where they are hundreds of feet away from each other, yet somehow are able to hear each other when they just talk, when they just murmur to each other from vast distances. And Shazam keeps trying to tell Savannah, What? I can't hear you! I can't hear you! You're like a mile away from me! Are you saying some bad guy speech? Some supervillain speech? Hello? Hello? Can't hear you! La blah 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 blah, this is all I'm seeing, I've just seen your lips smacking. And I think the funniest part is that Savannah just keeps going at it. He doesn't realize that Shazam can't hear him at all, which is all the more funny. Eventually Shazam just says, screw it, and just flies towards Savannah, and then Savannah flies towards him, and they have a big epic battle where they're at odds with each other. And ultimately Shazam he realizes that the last demon that's possessing Savannah, that's giving him great power, is envy of all things. And he just mocks envy, saying, "You're worthless little shit." And so envy does leave Savannah. Savannah falls back on the top of the building that they're currently floating above and says, calling out, "No!" Shazam fights off envy and then grabs Savannah, saves Savannah after briefly transforming back and forth to use lightning. I mean, I thought, that's another thing, I thought Shazam could control lightning without having to say the word Shazam, but Billy doesn't seem to grasp that. Anyway, he grabs Savannah saying, "Ready to gather the rest of your buddies?" Because, okay, I don't know how he figured this out, but apparently Shazam suddenly realized that he does need to have all the demons come back to Sivana and possess him briefly once more, so that he can take the demons out of him and recreate the sin orb from the early minutes of the movie, and Sivana once again goes, "No!" And Shazam, captures the demons of the sin orb, then knocks Sivana out and throws him aside, and he just lays there powerless, knocked out. All the Shazam kids come to congratulate him, but he's suddenly tempted by the demons. Or is he? I fooled you all. And then the carnival crowd comes around and claps for the Shazam family, even though they're still not called the Shazam family, let alone Shazam being called Shazam, of all things. And it was really cute when Darla saved the fake Santa Claus earlier, saying, "Wow, you're really him. My name's Darla, and I've been a really good girl this year." What? And then we see a news broadcast the next day saying, "Looks like we got ourselves Philadelphia has 6 new superheroes." And then the Santa Claus comes in saying, "It was the most fucking epic thing ever! It was so fucking crazy, there were these fucking demons and fucking monsters." He literally just drops the F-bomb repeatedly. And they have to censor him out every goddamn time. It was hilarious. So then we have this touching moment where the Foster family is having a dinner together, and this time Billy, even though he's only been with them for days, but has quickly grown a very strong bond with them, says, "To our family, to this family." And I don't know if the Foster parents know they all have powers now or what. I guess we'll see that in future films, let alone a Justice League sequel. I think it's most likely that's the next part they're going to play in. And then I think there's some final brief scene where... Oh, that's right. Before we see the ending scene, we do see the Shazam family dropping the Sin Orb back off at old Shazam's lair. And Freddy suddenly realizes, "Oh my god, don't you realize what this is? We have a lair!" And everyone's like, "Oh my god, we have a lair! We have a lair! This is so much cooler than the Batcave!" And yada. So that was great and all. And then I think we have a short ending scene where everyone's... No. The ending scene is in the lunchroom where Shazam shows up, showing off that he's best friends with Freddy and the kids and all that, and that he brought a special friend, if you don't mind. And then we see what, of course, is this body double for Superman. And we see Superman, but obviously not Henry Cavill, just standing there with a lunch tray. And Freddy freaks the fuck out, and then the end credits roll. Then we have 2 scenes. A mid-credits scene where we see Sivana in prison writing out countless ancient language messages and stuff, and then suddenly he hears a voice saying, "You think that was the only way to find magic, to use magic?" And then we see this supervillain called Mr. Mind. Of all the insane shit that DC has made over the decades, they made an evil caterpillar. He's not a robot. He's not a fucking liaison character, device, whatever. He is legit supervillain called Mr. Mind, who is an evil, super intellectual caterpillar. And he comes to supposedly to break Sivana out, or at least to talk to him. Sivana is very weirded out, but also intrigued, and the caterpillar just says, "Oh, Sivana, we're gonna have so much fun, and we will destroy them." And then the end credits continue rolling, and then at the very end we have this really disappointing post-credit scene where they try to test to see if Shazam has telepathy with sea creatures, very much like Aquaman, and of course he does. And Shazam's like, why would it even be cool if I had a superpower like that? It'd be stupid. Oh, I don't know, because you could control billions of animals, sea animals, and Freddy shows off his Aquaman shirt briefly, And Shazam's like, guess you're right. Alright, what's next, Freddy? And then the movie just ends. I was sitting there, I literally went up, I literally was going, really? That's it? So yeah. So that was Shazam. Man, have I gone on for long enough. I really like this movie. I would have to give this either an 87% or an 88%. A fairly high B+, you know? Because, I mean, it's still not quite as good as Superman. The problems are apparent, very elephant in the room-ish. Because, you know, there's no way that Billy and Freddy could do all these viral YouTube things without getting caught. You know, the fact that a crippled kid of all people is with this red-tighted superhero guy doesn't seem to send off any red flags to anybody until after Savannah first attacks Shazam around the end of the second act of the movie, and a whole bunch of other crazy stuff. I mean, I just saw this movie, but I don't remember it extraordinarily well, of course. I really like the kids. I really like the foster kids, but at the same time, we didn't spend enough time or have enough depth with them for me to really absolutely love it when they became the Shazam family in the climax, which was a great idea. I did love what they were trying to do, and they worked very well for the most part, because throughout the final act beforehand, they were becoming more integrated with Shazam, with Freddy and all. And that's another thing. Freddy never comes out and admits that what he did was wrong. He never comes out and says, look, I'm sorry for being such a douche before, and I'm so sorry that I was forced to put our family in danger for my own sorry ass. You know, if something like that had been said or whatever, that would have been great. That would have been awesome too. And I did like the foster parents. I feel like we spent more time with them, getting to know them better in comparison to the rest of the Shazam kids, as I guess I'm going to call them for now. Dr. Savannah was a pretty solid villain. He's not quite as great as Zod, in my opinion, but I still really liked him. I loved every moment with him, mostly, you know. I loved how he started out as a good kid at first with a dark spot in his heart, but that dark spot, you know, gradually consumed him over the course of nearly 50 years. This took place like around Christmas time, so I'm guessing it takes place around Christmas of 2018, and I suppose the Justice League has been around for at least a year and a half or so at most. But we'll see how the whole DC Universe thing goes in these movies. If Warner Brothers actually knows what the fuck they're doing, which they still don't. As much as I like this movie, you can clearly tell it exists in its own universe that has virtually nothing to do with Man of Steel, or Wonder Woman, or Justice League, or Batman vs. Superman, and just Suicide Squad, or even Aquaman. I really hope that it gets much better from here. That Warner Brothers will finally get their fucking shit together and figure out what the fuck they're doing with these characters that they've owned for decades, but until recently didn't even bother to try to put in the same cinematic universe, which Marvel has for years now, and is doing a pretty damn good job of it for the most part. But of course, that's the MCU. Whole other fucking story. Go check out the Marvel-thon vlogs if you haven't already. Let's see here. I've already gone long enough. Let's see if there's anything essential that we should cover. I love Zachary Levi's performance as Shazam. You know, it never feels for a second that he's Zachary Levi pretending to be a kid in an adult man's body. No, you can buy every second of the way that he is the 14-year-old kid in an adult man's body. And the kid who played as Billy Baston, I forget his name, it was something Angel or something. I loved his performance too. I love the emotions he conveyed, how believable he was. It's very much like how Levy was whenever he was Shazam. And every time I saw Shazam, I felt like I was seeing the full extension of Billy Batson himself. And I even before I saw this movie, I loved the concept, the general concept of a kid who becomes an adult superhero. That compared to Superman and other superheroes, it's actually a very clever way to keep your secret identity, as long as you keep your shit in check when you are the adult superhero in question. And I finally looked into the publication history of Captain Marvel and Shazam, and yeah, it's pretty interesting. I could go on a bit about it, but maybe you should ask the Bizarro Critic more for it. I hope he's doing a review of this movie as well. Maybe not. He's probably too busy with more comic news videos. If you haven't seen those already, go check those out too if you can. But yeah, there was a lot of good of this movie. Could have been better. It could have been as good or even a lot better than Man of Steel in my opinion. But Man of Steel is still the best of these DC movies. Hate me if you will. This was a lot better than Aquaman. It was a lot better than Wonder Woman. And compared to Wonder Woman, I think this movie had a much better excuse to have limited action sequences, since this really is a major coming-of-age story / dramedy / discovering, finding yourself and all that. It was a lot better than Justice League, which was way too much action and not much character developments, like, at all. And a lot better than Batman vs. Superman, which, as much as I loved the final act of the movie for the most part, there is no doubt that most of that movie was a pretentious, tedious mess. And the only movie faring worse was Suicide Squad. I mean, my God, that movie was so fucking boring. It was so fucking stale. And it was clearly a Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff with its climax, with its character development, if you can even call it that. But I think I will eventually do a vlog series on the DC movies in general. At some point in the future, I'll probably do all of them by the time the next Justice League film comes out, if it comes out next year or 2021 or whatever the fuck. I don't think they even know anymore when the next Justice League movie is gonna be produced and released. They thought it was gonna be 2020, but now it could be 2021 or 22. Who knows? And that will be much later than the first Justice League movie, which will be much longer time span in between movies in comparison to the fucking Avengers films and Marvel. Okay. Shazam is definitely worth a sit-through or two, or even 3 if you're feeling lucky. I still like Man of Steel better, but I would definitely, if I had the time, I would definitely go see this, maybe at least one more time. This movie was definitely well worth it, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Shazam, most likely in the Justice League sequel first, let alone his own sequels, which will be about the entire freaking Shazam family. This probably is what the next the next movie is going to be titled, is Shazam Family or something, and that's going to be freaking awesome. So yeah, definitely go check it out as soon as you can, and get on the Shazam lightning train or whatever while it's still fresh and up. Alright guys, thank you for spending some time with the Spirit Vlogs, and look out for more Amateur Masters content in the near future. I am the Spirit Man, the embracer of human good and analyst of fiction, and I'll see you guys in the next Marvel-thon vlog very soon, along with tons of other video stuff in the very near future. Take care, everybody.